Hello sociologists, and welcome to this presentation on the flipped classroom for A-level sociologists. Today we're going to be looking at what a flipped classroom is, and we're going to be focusing on how you can best use a flipped classroom to make notes at home to improve your learning. So if we begin by just thinking about what we mean by a flipped classroom. A typical classroom has a teacher telling students what they need to know, giving some new knowledge, perhaps lecturing. The students then attempt to take this information in, often drifting off, staring out the window, flicking bits of paper across from each other, and then the homework is likely to be something based on that work. The flipped classroom flips that round. So typically students will read some notes or possibly watch a video lecture at home, making some notes on that, and then come to the class ready to discuss it and do some work on it. So by doing that, we are hoping that we will be able to spend more time getting into the higher order skills of analysis and evaluation that will enable you to get better exam results. What's very important is the process of note-taking. It's very clear that reading something without really paying attention to it means you're very unlikely to retain much of that information. In fact, it's suggested that around only 5% of the information will be retained. If you process information, for example, turning into notes, we can expect that to rise to about 50%. So, what are good and bad ideas when taking notes? Certainly you need to have a good system. You need to make sure that your notes are taken in a time and space where you're actually going to be concentrating. You can probably guess the kind of things that are going to come up on here. Create a nice quiet tidy study space. Get rid of your phone. Turn off all your devices, do not get distracted. It's a really good idea to read notes once before writing anything down. I'm a big fan of this. I think it starts to make sure you're thinking in the right way, and the second time you read it, you're going to be picking out the things that are important. You can then watch a second time, maybe even a third or fourth when you make notes. And although a lot of you will be making notes by hand, if you can, make notes digitally as well. It just means you won't ever lose them. Bad ideas, these are the kind of things you want to try and avoid. Don't do it late at night. Try to make sure you are alert when you're doing it. Don't do it whilst doing something else. I know some of you will say, oh, but I work much better with the radio on. You really don't. And also, it's very clear that you want to be taking notes and learning your material in the same kind of environment that you're ultimately going to have to be reproducing them, i.e. an exam hall. In an exam hall, you don't get to listen to music, you don't get to play on your iPhone, so try and keep it the same. Try and have a nice table to sit at where you can kind of work effectively. And really important, if you've forgotten to do your notes and you know you've got a lesson the next day, don't just copy from someone else. The notes have to be your notes. You have to do the task. That's how you learn them. And I hope this only happens very rarely, if at all, you do not get a chance to make your notes, be honest about it, come to class, say you haven't done them, and you can sit in class and you can make notes while everyone else is getting on with the other exciting tasks. But it is important you make the notes yourself. There's no one right way of making notes. I always like to make linear notes where you just write things down with subheadings. Some people like these kind of crazy diagrams. Some people want to do it all digitally. Totally up to you. As long as they work for you, as long as you can understand them, that is what is important. Some further note-taking tips. Some of you will be great at this already, and looking around the classroom you will already have noticed that some people's notes are immaculate and they have 5 different colours on every page and everything is organised with subheadings. You don't have to do it like that, but get a system that works for you. If you can use different subheadings, if you can use colours and abbreviations, it's probably going to make your work easier. You need to develop how to take notes effectively, and we're going to be looking at examples. In fact, we've probably already looked at some examples of that already. in a strange meta development. We're actually doing that as we speak. It's also a really good idea to think of some questions to ask in class. So as you come to the end of your note taking for the next week's work, try and jot down some questions, things you haven't understood, things you want to know more about, etc. Which takes us to where we are now. We've already practiced, if things have gone to plan, taking notes from written work. Read it through once, decide on the subheadings, go through it, and we are now looking at, we've done that, this.